Imagine that you've just shipped an application to Cloudflare Workers and you notice that something seems to be going wrong, or you've got an email from someone saying, hey, your application isn't working. We recently have added a lot of tools inside of Workers and inside of Wrangler, the command line tool, to make it easier to diagnose what's actually going on in your application. So we'll start with Wrangler Dev, which was added in a super recent version of Wrangler. Wrangler Dev offers a development experience that really closely resembles running your Workers app locally. It does this by using the Workers preview service and making the preview available at a localhost URL. When I run Wrangler Dev, you can see that it sets up localhost :8787. I can make curl requests to that localhost URL. I can access it in my browser, just like if it was actually running locally on my computer. Wrangler Dev also has live reload built in, so if I go into my code and I add console log request.url, you can see that it actually refreshes the whole application, and when I make a curl request, you can see it just appears in my console, just as if this was an application running locally. But what about if you want to inspect things in production? For instance, maybe a user is having an issue that you can't actually recreate locally. Wrangler Tail is a new feature that we're adding in Wrangler 1.9.0, and it's in beta now, and it allows you to hook into your deployed Cloudflare Workers script and see any incoming requests. So with our application deployed after running Wrangler Publish, we can run Wrangler Tail, and once it starts up, you can see that anytime when we refresh our application, log output appears in the terminal. Note that the format of this output may change, as Wrangler Tail is still in pretty extreme beta version. You can see that our console.log statement appears in the console, and this is coming straight from production. This will let us diagnose why other users aren't able to use our application correctly. One solution for the pretty verbose log output that comes out of Wrangler Tail is to use the tool JQ. Here I use JQ to look specifically inside of the event.request.url parameter, which will let me see specifically what each request that's coming in, which URL is being accessed. In this example, we can see that someone is actually trying to use the API by passing in the user parameter instead of the username parameter. And it's pretty likely that this is the issue that's causing someone to not be able to use the site. When I see that request come in using Wrangler Tail, you can see that there's a message here that says cannot read property character at of null. So it's pretty likely this is the problem that's causing the application to crash for this user. If we go back and look at the code, you can see that we're calling username.character at 0.to uppercase. And the problem here is that the URL is specifically checking for the parameter username, and this person is using user. So we can add some additional code here. We can say if username exists, and then we can continue, doing all this code like it should be. Otherwise, maybe we should show some kind of message here that says this is how you use this application. For instance, the full URL and the username parameter as sort of a, this is how this thing works. So I'll get ready to publish this. I'll run Wrangler Publish, and you can see that everything builds successfully. And if I come back here and make another request, I actually am getting another message. It turns out even recording this video, Wrangler Tail was super useful. Headers is not defined. Well, this line headers here is actually being used in both conditionals. So here I'll just drop that there at the top. So I'll go back and republish the application. And then if I go look at the Wrangler Tail one last time, when a new request comes in, you can see that the outcome is okay. There's no exceptions, and the URL is successfully rendering. And just to double check, I'll run that curl statement using the user query param, and you can see that that little chunk of text that I'm rendering back successfully is being sent back in the terminal. Of course, you may want to add a little bit better of a, maybe an HTML page or something here, but you can see that both of these tools have made it super easy to debug and work on my applications. So some of these features are in beta. Wrangler Tail is super early days, but it's been such a huge improvement to the way that I debug things in Workers. I would love to have you check it out, and I'll make sure to link to the release candidate for the new features in Wrangler in the description of this video. Thanks, and happy debugging.